Hello and welcome. And can I just say thank you for the flowers. Can I also just say you can never have too many flowers? As in, I've actually been very blessed to have a few bunches come my way in the last 24 hours. But this is stunning. This is stunning. Thank you so much. And irrespective of whether you were part of that idea, you still clapped it. So you didn't have to, but I just thank you so much for your support. Some of you have been there for me so much as far as my tears. And I can say I haven't cried over you like I cry over my own children. So you haven't caused me distress or sent me to grey hair just yet. My own children are doing a fantastic job at doing that already, so you don't need to compete. But I have been, I'm honoured. I'm actually quite honoured and blessed to be able to present to you on Mother's Day. And I've titled it Tough Love, because for a whole variety of reasons, which I'm hoping will become obvious as I speak, today is actually a tough day. It's a tough, and no doubt even all the weeks leading up to it, for some of us, it's been really tough. And I have to also say, for the first time this year, in all the emails I get for various companies I sort of get emails from, I actually received some to sort of say, if you don't want to receive anything about our Mother's Day marketing, sales or whatever, then, hit reply and we'll stop. And I was actually thinking, at one level, it's possibly not a bad thing. That's a nice thing for those people. But I just hadn't experienced that before. So I thought, this is actually taking it to a new level. But Mother's Day, tough love. So I also want to acknowledge those of you who don't have mums, don't have them here, have had bad experiences and all that. I'm not here to present Mother's Day or being a mother as being a bed of roses and it's all really lovely and sweet. It's not, and I want to acknowledge for those of you who this is actually not a very good day, but you've turned up. Thank you so much. And all you're watching online now or later, thank you. Because I would like to think that what I have to say is actually going to hit the mark with all of us, irrespective of whether we are mums, want to be mums, have nice mums, don't have mums, hence tough love. But I want to start with those of you who know us a bit better know that we have 5 children of our own, and they are perfect, as in they're perfect for me. They've helped me. If anyone thinks I'm a great mum, it's because of them, and really they are surviving in spite of me. And here is one story as to why. This is what I thought, we would be, or as I get my family together and we would go out the door, this was what I had in my mind we would be like. But this is pretty much probably what we were like. Okay? And I just want to tell a story to exemplify that. In that back when I was pregnant with our last child, she was born in March, so this would have been probably about February, and my 2 boys were the ones at school, and we changed schools for them because of our physical location of living. So I'm bowling up with 2 little girls in tow, 2 boys, and then pregnant with number 5, turning up to this new school. And it was a really lovely school, and it's a great school. But my older boy had a teacher who was pretty much on not quite the 3 R's, but she was quite strict and firm, and she was a great teacher. She was a great teacher, especially for our son, who really appreciated that. But I was there one afternoon at school pickup, and the girls are probably just around, and I'm waiting for the boys and all this sort of thing. And that particular teacher happened to be on yard duty just at the end of the day. And she just sort of walked past me and we just started chatting. And she commented that either that day or a few days before, she'd actually gone around the class and was just asking the kids, what is something your parents have often say to you? And she reported that our boy had said, toughen up. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to be reported. I've got, number 5, I've got these little ones. She's going to, and I don't know, I just sort of probably had a really rough smile on my face. And I said, oh really? probably looking scared. And she said, yeah. And I think, no, that's great. That was good. So well done. And I thought, dodged a bullet there. So thankfully, she thought toughen up was actually good advice to give your child. I'm not sure my boy thought it at the time, but I have to say now that he's a parent, not that he's saying it to his little one just yet, but yeah, I think he does value that piece of advice. But I would think as we would go down the stairs and get into the car, we'd be a bit like Charlie Brown with the fists going everywhere as we're trying to head to the car, but kids would forget shoes or lunch boxes and we forgot our reader and I want to get in first and you don't. So that was us. But I just knew once we were all buckled in the car, the doors were locked, we're on our way. So, I had everybody. Tough love. Job description of being a mother. One person who does the work of 20 and for free. See also masochist, loony and saint. In looking up what is a mother and the job description, and I do recall reading something somewhere that basically was along a job description. We're looking for someone to do all these wild and wonderful things, be on call 24/7 and have no personal time and not be able to go to the bathroom by yourself and sort of out the bottom, for the pay or the salary, free or nothing or whatever. And how long was this contract for? Forever. So I thought, well, that's pretty much does it. Anyway, I have just taken out some of the salient points for a mother. And I want this to be applied to not just mothers, but grandmothers, to aunts, to women. And quietly, men, you can take it on board too. Because what I have done is taken these things out, but actually, I'm hoping that by the end of my sermon, which I might even, if I remember, flick back to this, is actually qualities that God is to us. And I had to write in there monster slayer because I think even though maybe some of us, or maybe some of us do, still looking for monsters under the bed and don't like to have the lights out or whatever, God is there for us, slaying the monsters, slaying the fear. I want to highlight some mothers in the Bible. And this is not the list. But I've picked out some of these mothers because they have all had difficulties, issues, fantastic things. The first one I've picked out there, just referring to Eve. Now, Adam had sexual relations with his wife Eve, and she became pregnant when she gave birth to Cain. She said, "With the Lord's help I have produced a man." Later, she gave birth to his brother and named him Abel. Fantastic. She's had 2 beautiful boys. I've got 2 beautiful boys. But as a mother, she then went on to be around when one of her sons kills the other, murders him. That's quite a lot. I cannot imagine what it would be like if that was what was happening between my 2 boys. Even if my 2 boys were not getting on and they were arguing, that just breaks my heart. So from Eve's perspective, what trauma. The next mother I want to highlight here is Jochebed. And her name is only mentioned in Exodus and in Numbers, or Exodus 6, sorry, and I want to take it from Exodus 2. About this time, a man and a woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a basket made of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it amongst the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. Jochebed is Moses' mother. This is at a time when the law was going out. All babies, all baby boys especially, are to be killed. Baby boys, if they're born, midwives, can you just, kill them at birth? She gave birth to Moses, but she was obviously not going to kill her own baby. But what she did do was out of love for her son, chose to put him in this little basket, waterproof basket, and not quite send him down the river, but forsake him. In an obvious way, it looks like she's forsaking him, but she's actually trying to save his life. And if she had not done that, we would not have ended up with Moses and what he went on to do and what God's calling on his life. But she was prepared to forsake being a mother to him and have him with her all the time. God actually allowed her to nurse him and look after him, as in the princess sort of found him, but then needed a nursing mother, and oh my goodness, we've got one here. So that was like God is continually working through all this. So we have a mother here who's had one son kill another. We've had another mother here where she has decided to, for the sake of his life and his future, to actually allow him to go somewhere else, despite her, no doubt, wanting him with her. God is still at work through all this, redeeming our mistakes as a child or a parent, and relationships are not perfect. This is what I'm wanting us to keep in mind here. At a human level, mother relationships are not perfect. We have another mother, Manoah's wife. She's never given a name in the Bible. She's referred to as Manoah's wife. In those days, a man named Manoah from the tribe of Dan lived in the town of Zorah. His wife was unable to become pregnant, and they had no children. The angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife and said, "Even though you have been unable to have children, you will soon become pregnant and give birth to a son. For he will be dedicated to God as a Nazirite from birth. He will begin to rescue Israel from the Philistines." Manoah's wife was the mother to Samson. So here we have a woman who is wanting a child, and in those times, having children was a sign of getting ahead and status. And if you didn't have children, then there were certainly issues. She was praying for a son. She was given a son. She named him Samson. And he was going to be rescuing Israel from the Philistines. But as we know from the story there in Judges, Samson did not actually follow what he was meant to be doing. No, despite the teaching of Manoah and his wife, his parents upon him, and he was not meant to be having his hair cut. He was not meant to be eating honey from dead animals, which, if you read Judges, spoiler alert, that's what he does. And he lives the life of Riley. And he marries into tribes and clans that he was not meant to be. As a mother, the heartbreak of that, the heartbreak of seeing your child who you have sent to Sunday school and read Bible stories to, who you have prayed over and sung songs like Pauline did to your children, and then he chooses to go that way. I can only again imagine the heartbreak from the mother's perspective of watching your son do that. And I'm not sure, probably I should know this, but it's not clear, I don't think, as to whether his parents were still alive when Samson ended up being captured and had his hair cut and then being captured and then being humiliated and made fun of. But then when he came back to God and realised what was happening and what he should have been doing, and he sacrificed his life and took out a lot of the Philistines with him. But that would not have been an easy road for Manoah's wife and himself to watch their child make those decisions and go down the path he did. Then we have a story of Rebecca. I've taken a few verses here just to give a bit of a potted history of her with her children. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home, but Rebecca loved Jacob. So here we have two parents who have their favourites. And what comes from that? But Rebekah overheard, so I skipped through, as you can see, from Genesis 25 to 27. But Rebekah overheard what Isaac had said to his son. So when Esau left to hunt for the wild game, she said to her son Jacob, "Listen, I overheard your father say to Esau, 'Bring me some wild game and prepare me a delicious meal. Then I will bless you in the Lord's presence before I die.'" So the favouring of one child over another is coming to play through Rebekah. So at the moment, and it's easy for us to read this and think, Rebekah, that's actually not a very good motherly move. But the repercussions of that. So Jacob did go out and Rebekah did cook up the food, and Jacob, between the two of them, they're concocting this plan to trick. And the consequences. But Rebekah heard about Esau's plans. So this is after it had been discovered that the blessing had been given to Jacob instead of to Esau. And Esau was going to get cranky, obviously. But Rebekah heard about Esau's plans, so she sent for Jacob and told him, "Listen, Esau is consoling himself by plotting to kill you. So listen carefully, my son. Get ready and flee to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay there with him until your brother cools off. When he calms down and forgets what you have done to him, I will send for you to come back. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" So now we have a totally decimated family. It's not just that Rebekah favoured one son over another, it's the consequences that came from that. So Rebekah has now got one son who's had to leave and another son who's cranky, and he also ends up marrying outside the clan. So the heartbreak, the damage done to a family. So Rebekah is by no means a perfect mother, which none of us are perfect mothers, just in case you're thinking any of us are. We're not. There are other mothers in the Bible, though, that we can draw strength and guidance from. We've got Naomi and Ruth. Now, Naomi was not Ruth's mother, but mother-in-law. But the book of Ruth is a really beautiful story of reconciliation, restoration, relationships being strengthened and being built because they were pressing into God every step of the way. We also have the story of Hannah. Hannah wanted a child, like Manoah's wife, and prayed so fervently that she looked drunk at the temple. She was blessed with her boy Samuel. But Hannah was pressing into God, seeking God at all times, and dedicated her son Samuel to God. We have Mary, the mother of Jesus, who as probably a teenage girl gets told, "Oh, you're going to have a baby," and this is out of wedlock. And it's like, that's actually not the way the story should be going. We should be getting together, we should be married for a little while, and then we'll start having children. And God's just thrown that plan sort of out. But Mary was pressing into God and said, "Here I am, your servant," stepped into that and was the mother of Jesus. We also have Elizabeth, who was also desperate for children and falls pregnant with John. And when Elizabeth being pregnant with John and Mary being pregnant with Jesus get together, John within her womb leaps for joy. These are mothers as prayer warriors. The number of stories I've heard of people who have come back to faith because their mothers were praying for them all the time, never gave up on them. And one of my attitudes for my own children is I've got to keep reminding myself that they're actually God's children, but they've been given to me. And if nothing else, if I cannot speak, the number of times I've walked away and thought, I shouldn't have said that, I shouldn't have done that, I got too cross or too cranky, should I have said it, I've doubted myself, have I made the right decision? I've just prayed that God will keep them alive and keep them close to me in spite of me. So they're God's children, and God will somehow work that out. So pray for your children. And those of you who are not mums, I'm sure you've got children around you that you can pray for. Pray with. You can pray with the mothers. We had, yesterday we had our children all with us for afternoon, evening, and therefore we had the 2 grandbabies with us too. And I think both the grandbabies are not allowing their parents to sleep. And I think I could see a little bit of that with the parents and that sense of frustration and tiredness and how do we manage this and deciding between each other what is best. Should we try now or later or soon? And it was bringing back memories of when I was holding my boys at that age, you just go to sleep. Like trying to tell my 18-month and 6-month and 12-month-old children this sense of if you just allow your mum to sleep, she's going to be so much better mum. But of course that's not really working. And somehow these tinies have a mind of their own and decide when they'll sleep and when they won't. And I could just see it coming back. So I felt, just prayer. Prayer has really got my kids through. Prayer has got us through. Stick with God. And then just when you think, well, none of this really applies to me, here are some verses in the Bible that the nature of God is described from the perspective of a mother. So in Deuteronomy 32, we see God cares for his people like an eagle hovering over her young. So we've seen it in the wild, the way mother animals will protect their children. We're not me per se, but I've heard stories of plover birds who choose to lay their eggs on the ground, and if anyone is nearby, those plover parents can sound and look and get quite aggressive to protect their eggs. So we see it in the wild. God is concerned for his people like a midwife cares for the child she's delivered. That's for all of us. God is concerned for all of us like a midwife caring for you as you've been delivered. Isaiah 49, God will never forget his children like a mother will not forget their nursing child. God comforts his people like a nursing mother. God experiences the anger of a mother bear who's been robbed of her cubs. So again, we're seeing it in the wild where if the babies are taken or removed, just how wild do these animals get? And the term mama bear is often referred, or can be sort of tossed around, when a mother, and I think also from the perspective of a dad too, although you'd be called a papa bear, not a mama bear. But that sense of, anger, and it's like, it doesn't matter what seems to have happened, but the anger that sort of wells up as in, don't you cross me as far as my children go. If you're going to start bullying or getting, cranky at my children, you've got to deal with me first. I'm not quite like this, but I often have talked about, in fact, we were watching one of our boys play football yesterday, and I'm not sure it's actually good for my blood pressure, because even though he's an adult and he doesn't need his mum, like that sort of thing, but just even at this level, the tempers were flying out on the field. Not from my boy, can I just say? Of course not. But sometimes, the tempers are flaring and they think that the umpire's made the wrong call and all this sort of thing. And there are a few little bits, but a couple of the guys got yellow carded, and it was all well managed, but it was that sense of, I had in my mind a particular player who I thought I saw was doing a bit of, nasty stuff behind the ball. And in the last quarter, he was actually on the other team, but paired with my son. And I'm just joking with I think one of my girls there about, he's, the sneaky ones. And she's saying, Mum, just... Because I think my kids have this fear that I will actually leap out of my chair and onto the field, which I won't, but they just, Mum, come. But that's the motherly mama bear feels for your kids. And what I think God is doing that and does that for us. So I will wish you all happy Mother's Day in whatever format you think about that. So if you're going off to have lunch with your mum or your grandmother now, or you're going to go home and do a Zoom call with her or whatever, or your mum is not here or nearby for whatever reason, think that God loves you like a mother does. And help us to love others as God encourages mothers to. I think all of us can do that. And God can redeem all situations. He can heal relationships. He can help us to deal with the anger or the sadness or the brokenness, even if the person is no longer on this earth. God can still love you like a mother, to love you through that healing and that pain. I'm not suggesting that God does do this quite so easily, but as little kids, they'll often come, and I still get this, if I'm out relief teaching and the little reception grade ones come up and they'll say, I've got a scratch, and I have to get out my binoculars to actually see where the scratch is. But it's that sense of back in the day with my little ones, if you slapped a Wiggles Band-Aid on it, suddenly it was amazing. We were healed and we could go back and play or whatever. God doesn't do it quite so simply, but God does care for us, nurture us, love us, and restore and heal situations. If we will press into Him, God can be that mother figure for us if we don't have mothers, that we can relate to and connect to. So, I will leave it there and wish us all happy Mother's Day in whatever form that looks like for you.
Pardon?